Hello and welcome. This past spring season, gardening season, my family and I sold over 200 pounds of worm castings. I couldn't even believe it myself. I started my worm farm 4 years ago, and hold on, let's first talk about what worm castings are. Worm castings are a really cool thing that comes from the belly of a worm. Worms have enzymes in them. Worms' digestive systems have enzymes in them, and it turns kitchen waste and other waste into soil food. So here I am packing up worm castings, and I delivered them all over what we call the Treasure Valley. I live in Emmett, Idaho. If you're curious about worm farming, go ahead and head to the blog post that I'm going to link below, and I will share all of the blog posts that I have on worm farming. So we've been doing it for 4 years out of these storage totes. So simple, so free. So what I'm doing here is I'm ripping up a box, just an Amazon box that my kids left out in the rain. So soft carbon. What is carbon? It's going to be your leaf mold, your paper, your boxes from Amazon. Anything that used to be a tree is going to be what you'll want to use as your worm's bedding. So I have my carbon source here. I'm adding a bunch of it to the bottom of the worm bin. And the reason I want to do that is because you'll notice that it will soak up a lot of the water that we're going to add, because we want our worm bins to stay moist, not too wet, moist. So I added all the carbon into the bottom of the bin, and the worms will be happy. I had an old basil plant that I needed to get rid of that we bought from Trader Joe's, so I'm just going to use this. You'll also want to add soil or worm castings. And what this does is it gets the microbes moving. Soil has microbes in it. That's how plants grow. Microbes are the little tiny animals that are all around us that we don't necessarily think too much about, that really run the world. So that little basil plant will actually get everything activated, and then as the basil plant decomposes, the worms will be very happy and very well fed. So I crushed up an eggshell. Worms actually, like chickens, need grit for their gizzards, or I don't know, maybe gizzard isn't the right term, but they need it for their digestive systems. Okay, so you're going to want to throw a little bit of eggshells in there. I just literally, the shell of one egg is what you saw me crush and put in. And then I picked up this big, huge bag from Starbucks. I don't typically do this, but the reason I'm doing it is because I want to start off with a nitrogen that's really small and easy for the worms to digest. Plus, coffee is a really cool source of nutrients for soil, for your worm bins, for your worms. So I suggest that if you have a Starbucks local, they have a bucket sitting out front at my local Starbucks, and they said, take me for your garden. So I took it for my worm bins. I'm only going to add about the serving of, I don't know how much coffee this is, but it looks like it was one of the coffee, what are those things called? Filters. Full of coffee grounds. I threw it in there, and now I'm going to add, I think next, if I can remember correctly, I'm going to add my worms. So if you're still with me, let's backtrack. What have I done? I started with an old janky storage tote. My husband drilled some holes on the bottom and around the sides. Worms need air. Plus, you don't want microbes that are anaerobic, meaning these microbes can survive without oxygen, and that's what smelly trash is. It's basically not good microbial activity, which then turns into methane gas. So what do I have here? I have worms. I have maybe about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds of worms. My husband got them out of one of our worm bins, and I'm going to add them to the bin. I apologize for the poor camera quality. I have an entire blog post that I'm going to link below, along with some other blog post, like I mentioned. So I'm just going to slowly add these into the bin. And I'm not going to add bigger food. Although I know my worms can handle it, I'm going to wait for them to get acclimated to this new little home that I've made them. And so I'm going to add the worms. If you don't have a local worm retailer in your area, I will link some worms on Amazon that seem to have gotten okay reviews. If you set up a worm bin, I think that will help your worms succeed. I don't think people always know that you need a lot of microbial activity, and that is going to be your most important component. Why? Because the worms need that. That's what they eat. They eat part food, part microbes, but they're so tiny they can't eat food right away. So if the food hasn't started decomposing, then we've given worms something that they can't really eat. So what I'm showing you, by putting soil and coffee grounds and some worms with the worm castings, we're giving the worms a better opportunity, or I guess a better chance at life. So I've thrown some more. That box that the worms were in, I just ripped it up. I put it on top. Worms don't like light, although I will be putting the lid on this one and sticking it in the garden bed. I'm going to add some more water because I want this bin to be moist enough to where I won't have to check on it for the next few days. Rhonda Sherman, she's been doing research for a really long time on worms. She wrote Worms Eat Your Garbage. If you Google that, you'll find her manual that's free online that shares so much helpful knowledge and information. She suggests checking on your worms every day. And if you can see, I'm pouring water right into the bin. A lot of this water will be soaked up by the carbon, so I'm not going to worry about it. Plus, worms need a moist environment, but like I said, if it's too moist, they might flee, and also you might attract some critters that you don't like fruit flies. I do have all kinds of critters in my worm bins because I worm farm outside, and I'm just trying to mimic a soil biome. So if you can see, this is why we drill holes on the bottom, because anything that's on your produce or that's leaching out from the decomposing matter is going to end up on the bottom. So my suggestion is put it in the garden where you might have some flowers growing, or something that you're not going to eat. So there you have it, folks. A worm bin that you can make for free. I hope you enjoyed this. Bye. Since I recorded the video on how to make your own worm bin, and I'm gonna check in on my worms today and see how they're doing. I've checked in quite a few times, but I haven't actually recorded, so I know that there are worms in there, but I wanted to turn the camera around and show you what I see. All right, let's see what we can find in here. I found them. I found worms, and I actually, looking through the bin, I've been finding a lot of worm castings. So I'm gonna zoom in and show you that the worms are alive and well. And there's actually already a worm egg right there. Yay! Life is in this bin. I'm gonna gently set it back down because there are holes on the bottom, but here it is, setting in my garden, doing beautifully. All the seeds are germinating. Life exists here in my worm farm.